I was born in Canada, as were my parents. We all grew up in Western British Columbia. My father is a police officer for the RCMP, it's the Canadian Royal Mounted Police, and my mom is a nurse. So I studied American Sign Language interpretation at university. I wanted to become a sign language interpreter for the deaf. My university career was done in Winnipeg. I worked as an interpreter for a little while. And then before I moved to Turkey, I got my teaching certificate, and now I'm an English teacher. So I grew up in northern BC, a fairly small city, lots of outdoor activities and wilderness. Spent a lot of time kind of in nature and going camping and whatnot. I've been working ever since I was 16. I started just with small jobs in order to get through high school and then university. In university, I was working as a healthcare assistant, as well as working with autistic children. I also was working as a cashier to pay my way through university. Once I did my university education, I was working as an interpreter, a sign language interpreter for the deaf, as well as an intervener for the deaf-blind. Before I became a Muslim, I'm going to say I knew very little of Islam, if not anything. I remember the first Muslim that I can remember meeting was actually somebody I worked with when I was in high school, and I had no idea she was Muslim. I learned many years later, actually, after I had converted to Islam. I suppose my only exposure to Islam was anything I had seen on the media, particularly post 9/11, and any sort of whatever the media wanted me to hear, right? So that Muslims were responsible for terror attacks or these kinds of ideas. I think I had maybe a prejudgment about that women in Islam were oppressed. I remember specifically when I was looking into Islam, one of the questions I remember asking was, is it true that women can only sit in the back seat of cars, right? So I have no idea where that notion came to me, but somewhere that was a prejudgment that I had. So aside from kind of whatever I had ever seen in the media, I had no knowledge. I didn't even know that Muslims were the practitioners of Islam, right? So it was very basic. I had a conversation with a Muslim, and I remember being so shocked because the images that I had seen on the media were so different from this individual. And then later on we had a discussion as well about the fact that the prophets between Islam and Christianity were similar, which was news to me. And I remember thinking, wow, I should learn something about this religion. Like, what if I'm ever in an opportunity, or if I ever have to interpret at a mosque, or I should get some background knowledge. So I just decided to read into Islam to expand my knowledge in case I ever was going to interpret in that situation. And in the meantime, I was still having conversations with the individual that I had met about Islam. And so as I was reading and seeing that there were so many similarities between Christianity, which was the religion I was practicing before, and Islam, I just became more and more shocked at how many similar ideas there were. So from there, I continued to do some research. And the more research that I did, the more I understood that there was things about Islam that I really appreciated, and then there was things about Christianity that I started to question. And eventually, I was working at university at that time. I was working at a country club, and there was a Muslim family, a Syrian Muslim family at the time. They had just joined, and I understood they were Muslim, and I said, "Oh, I see that you're Muslim, and I'm learning about Islam a little bit. I'm reading about Islam," and the man, he was really keen to talk or to bring me books or help in any way that he could, and eventually they invited me to the mosque with them and to their home, and so I went because I was learning about Islam, and I was eager to go and see the community, and then when I went to the mosque, I ended up meeting some really wonderful women, young women that were my age, who I became quite close friends with. And slowly, without even my knowing it, the search that was just initially just to kind of become a better human being and to gain knowledge, I started to ask myself some serious questions about, like, is this something that I really believed? And And yeah, what were the questions that I was struggling with within Christianity? And these are things that I needed to contemplate more. And I remember one evening, as a few months into reading about Islam, as things were starting to get more serious for me, and I was realizing that that this was a religion that I really wanted to consider. I remember praying at night and just asking Allah, and I just saying, you know, Allah, whoever you are, or God, whoever you are, if you're God of Christianity or if you're God of Islam, show that to me and kind of give me a sign, but make it clear to me, right, which is truth. And after I made that supplication and I prayed that prayer that night, it was everything just became so much clearer. I really met amazing Muslim people in my life. The questions that I was struggling with, just about the faith or about modesty, like covering, or monotheism, or the history of the Quran, like all these kinds of things. God just kept putting people in my life to answer those questions. So I was really concerned about the fact that I was looking into Islam, but people didn't know, that I hadn't told my friends, I hadn't told my family. And what was that going to mean if I did accept Islam, and how would they receive me? And so I had made that prayer about, you know, God, who are you? God of Christianity, God of Islam. And I made an appointment with the chaplain, the pastor of the Christian community on our university campus. And I had asked him, I sat down with him and I said, look, I'm at the point where I'm questioning my faith, and I have some questions, and if you can't give me an answer, I believe I'm going to become Muslim. And a lot of the questions particularly were with the Bible, actually, and how the Bible was selected, and how the books of the Bible were selected, and the canonicity of the Bible, and why wasn't the original Bible in existence, and why was there such discrepancy between the different versions of the Bible, and whereas the Quran has been preserved for 1400 years, and that was something that was really significant for me, because I mean, God, even in Christianity, God says He will protect His word, and there was the Quran that was the message of God, that even if it was physically destroyed, it would be protected because so many people have memorized it, and the original is still in existence. And then here was the Bible that there was no original, and within the versions there were so many, you know, interpretations, and so I sat down with this pastor and I asked these questions, and he couldn't give me any answer,